Welcome, everybody, to the Lone Wolf Show on Witchcraft TV on Roku television and also streaming on online television on www.witchcrafttv.online. And as I've always done, I reach out to the most intelligent and wisest minds I can find. And today, we reached out to a color witch in the United Kingdom, and we're going to bring her on right now as we proceed. So, Rachel, how you doing? Glad to have
Hi
you on
there.
the show.
Hi, thank you very much. It's great to be here.
Absolutely. So, as we proceed, Rachel.co.uk is where we can find your curriculum and your teachings and your craft, so to
Yeah.
speak. So tell me exactly, where are you located in the UK?
I'm in Barnsley, which is in South Yorkshire, which is right in the centre of the UK. You can't get much more central than where we are. So yeah, I'm very much right in the middle, not far from each coast, just right in the centre of the country.
There's a lot of witchcraft and pagan culture that comes from the United Kingdom. You have like some of the earlier museums from Gerald B. Gardner's out there, lots of iconic pagan musicians and great pagan festivals. Have you been to any one of those ventures out there?
No, I mean, obviously, I've been to Stonehenge and seen all the things like that, which is amazing. And I've been to festivals where there are pagan parts of the festival. I've not actually been to one that's specifically pagan, but I do have some friends who are on that path, and I actually went to their pagan wedding, which was amazing a few years back.
I got to say, I'm really, really jealous that you get to visit Stonehenge.
Yeah, we
Um,
get to go quite a lot. Yeah.
Really, really cool. Um, we had a hand fasting live from Stonehenge from the first priest of the Cabot tradition um,
Wow.
that was hand fasted there. And we were the first pagan and witchcraft media to broadcast from Stonehenge for, a television station. So it's always very, very exciting.
Yeah.
And
Cool.
hopefully, I could, I love to trek there. So
Yeah.
it's always very, very enchanting. Tell me, when you first experienced, I don't know when this happened, how many times you've been, when you first experienced going to Stonehenge, what did you feel, and how was what was the experience like?
When I first went, I was quite young. I was probably 12, 13. My uncle lived in that area. And he took me, he was a big motorcycle fan, and he had a Honda Goldwing. And he took me on a buzz past it, and I was just absolutely blown away by it. I think what I find when you go to it has that absolute feel to it. It just, even when you visit with a lot of people, you can see people experience it. You can see, particularly children. I find that children pick up on the energies much more easily than the adults do.
You
It's
think
definitely got a lot of energy.
that reminds me of like a child's perception of like an imaginary friend, where their mind hasn't been, so to speak, domesticated from societal norms and things. Do you think that plays a lot
Absolutely.
of part in it?
Absolutely does. Yeah. I mean, I believe we're all born with the knowledge from previous incarnations, and society knocks that out of us over the years. So a lot of children have got knowledge of things, particularly nowadays. I don't know whether you've noticed that quite a lot of what they're calling like the rainbow children have got they've got abilities that they couldn't possibly have. They play the piano, or they can write, or they can draw, and it's like, yeah, we should be nurturing that. When a child brings that from another incarnation, I think we should be nurturing that. Yeah.
Does the rainbow children have any connotations or connections to what an indiglo child is?
Absolutely, yes. So an indigo child is kind of my generation, sort of 50, 60-year olds, are people who have been on the path for a long time. And then the crystal children are the what I call the pathfinders. And then the rainbow children are the ones now that are going to be the change makers, the soul rangers, which is what my book's about. Actually, I've called it Soul Ranger. Yeah.
So you're a published author.
I self-published, written, illustrated, and I'm a graphic designer by trade, so designed my book and published it myself. So it is very it came out last year. And it's a very slow burner. I'm not doing a lot with it. I won't put it on Amazon or anything like that because I want to be able to connect with the people that get the book. I don't want them just to come across it and know nothing about it. So yeah.
So your spirituality is a very personal endeavor, and
Oh, absolutely.
you could find your literature and your writings at rachel.co.uk. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
cool. So
Yeah.
tell me about your spirituality. When did you first come to earth-based spirituality, and when did you first start trekking the path of? I do assume that you wear a hat, and people in the witchcraft and occultic and magical communities wear different hats.
Yeah.
And do you wear a hat of a witch?
I do, but it's more when I need it as a costume to kind of get people to understand what I do. I find that if you wear the hat, people take you a little bit more seriously. But I'm very much a very ordinary person with a lot of sort of spiritual witchy side to me that's come from I kind of don't know where. So I think the I've always had a lot of feeling about things. I'm a major empath, and I've always had a lot of feelings about things. As a child, I did see and experience a lot of things that I didn't discuss with anybody. I just took it as normal. And then about 25 years ago, my dad was quite poorly and he did Reiki for the first time, strangely enough, recommended by a doctor, which is unusual for 25 years ago for doctors to use holistic medicines. And she got me interested in Reiki attunements and things like that. So kind of from there, I've done my own thing. I've been on this kind of spiritual path, and it's only over probably about the past 10 years that I realized I'm not I don't have a religion as such, but when I look at everything, the pagan path feels the most aligned with what I think and believe. So I like to think that that's where I am. Yeah.
You said that you identify with being an empath. Can you
Yeah.
tell our audience, or can you educate me personally? What is being an empath? What does that mean, and what kind of activities does that display? Like, how do you become an empath? Is it
You don't become an empath, you are an empath. It's one of those things where probably most people that lean towards anything kind of on the spiritual realm tend to be empaths, and people who, like myself, are neurodiverse. So neurodiversity and empathy seems to be very, very closely related. And it's where you can walk into a room and you can feel the atmosphere. You know what people are thinking and feeling. And if somebody's down or upset, you get that feeling without understanding where that's coming from. It's someone else's emotion is attached to you. So it's like an intuition thing. It's like a natural intuition, but the empath side of it is when you take it on, and sometimes if you're not ready for it, it can really overwhelm you. So you have to be very, very careful that you're not taking on somebody else's energies, and being overwhelmed by that and taken in by that. So yeah.
How much discernment do you think is used with people that are empathic or have intuition?
Um, I think people kind of when they are empathic, they know that it isn't always their energies that they're working with. But I think sometimes early stage when you've just realized that this is what you do, I think it's really, really hard to understand which of this is yours. it's really hard at the moment with being on social media because you don't have to be in the room with somebody. We can pick up empathically those emotions without actually being in the room with them. So when you get all this negativity online, it's really, really easy to bring yourself right down. So yeah, you kind of have to put your own protective bubble around you and say, that's not mine, not my, not my circus. So yeah.
So, in the scope of contemporary witchcraft and people that wear a hat of witchcraft and things, and it seems like you understand the whole concept of labels and things.
Yeah.
But as far as like being an occultist or a spiritual seeker, I did see in your bio of sorts that you work with color magic.
Yeah.
So tell me all about color magic and how does that pertain to your normal living existence?
Yeah, that's absolutely something that's come from somewhere. Not I've not learned it. I just feel like I already know this information. So, about 20 years ago, I started working quite closely with color. I did an online course, which at that time, online courses weren't even a thing. And some of the things I were reading, I was looking at it and going, that doesn't feel right. That doesn't feel like what I know intuitively. So I've kind of dabbled in color over the years. And then during COVID, I had that I had what I like to call is the great pause, was an opportunity to kind of step back and look at what I enjoy doing. And color has always been something I've done because I'm an artist, illustrator, as well as now an author. But I'd never written a book before then. And then I was just sat watching TV one Friday afternoon during COVID and was like, I've got an idea for a book about colour. So the whole concept of the book, which is aimed at kind of young people, it's 7 to 11-year-old-ish. Although most of my readers are adults, they absolutely love it as an adult. And it's the journey from the black ocean of overwhelm to the white lighthouse of calm, using all of the different colours because each of the colour has an emotion attached to it. So the story is about a little girl who gets lost, and it's just a basic adventure story and can be read like an adventure story. You don't need to know anything much about the colours. But if you want to go deeply into it, I've broken down what each of the colours mean. So she goes from the black ocean of overwhelm, and on this journey to find the white lighthouse of calm. And this idea for this is the weird bit about it, and this is what I love about what I do. The the whole concept came to me, and I'm like, well, I've never written a book, and I particularly haven't written a children's book. So I went online and I was like, how do I write a book? So I did a little bit of research and I sat down to write it on the Saturday morning, and it was written by Sunday afternoon. So I kind of say I didn't write it. I like to think it was channeled through me. I'm not a channeler. I don't do channeling, but the information came to me in such a way that the book evolved over 2 days. And then it took me 2 years to get it to a point where I'd got all the illustrations done and it was ready to go. And my mum had seen it and said, this is an amazing book. You need to get it published. When are you going to get it published? And I said, yeah, I've got 52 illustrations to do. And it's going to take me some time to actually do that. But yeah, I promise I will do it. And the next day she went on holiday, and sadly she didn't come home. She passed away while she was on holiday. So I'd promised her that I was going to write the book. And it's taken me another 2 years to get that done. And like I say, it was then published last May. And I'm now kind of realizing that I do have this knowledge and this expertise that has come from somewhere, but I don't know where from. But this 12-step color system is purely my own. It's one that I've developed. And I'm learning as I'm teaching because I don't really know what I'm meant to do with it. Now I've got it, I'm not quite sure what I'm meant to do with it. So I'm going with the flow at the moment.
I really like the idea of color magic. And I think occultically, colors have a lot of different correspondences
Yeah,
with other things that are, well, not recognized with social norms, and just kind of, well, the occult is kind of like the hidden things that nobody wants to talk about and things. Uh, but colors have each in itself. I mean, colors is like a visual thing. It's something that you see,
yeah,
with sight. And I think that's very it's potent, especially with when magic can come from your subconscious, where if you're trying to, well, and a lot of the Cowan and Muggles love a love spell. So
yeah.
if you were trying to attract a lover and reach true love, like you would go with the color pink, I assume.
Yeah,
And
well, pink's very much a fully embodying color. The way I see it is the because I work kind of quite loosely with the chakra colors. So your main chakra colors go from red to violet at the top, but I see the bit on the outside, the whole embodying color is pink. So you've got a coral pink at the bottom and a magenta pink at the top. So yeah, that's why I think people use pink because it's a like a almost like a hug because it's a fully embracing color. But actually, the heart chakra is green, and I find love spells work better with green because green is about compassion, empathy, balance, harmony, and once you've got that, then you can love because you can love yourself and you can love someone else. Yeah.
so, do you also work with the chakras?
Yes. Yeah. Kind of
You do.
loosely work around the chakras. Yeah. Yeah.
So the different chakras have different color correspondences.
Yeah, yeah. So each of the chakras is like an energy center. So it's where we draw energy from the universe into the body to keep ourselves balanced. And if your chakras are all spinning at the right frequency, that's when you feel in balance. Um, when any of the chakras are spinning badly, that's when that emotion goes out of balance. So, because they are related to the colors, when we use the color, you can remind your body how it should be working because the color reminds your body of that frequency. Because we don't actually see color. Color is just the speed that the light bounces off something, and our eyes turn it into a color. So it's a frequency rather than something we visually see.
One of
So
the things that I've always adhered to is that Mother Nature will never lie to us.
no,
And Mother Nature has the colors in the sky like with a rainbow.
yeah,
So when we look at the rainbow in the sky, it has a multitude of, I assume, the most dominant colors in existence that
yeah,
is within our scope of reality. What does the rainbow? I mean, we have all kinds of Judaic, stories about what it means and things, but to you specifically, somebody who works with color magic, what does the rainbow really symbolize to you? What have you always fancied that the rainbow is and does for humanity with emotions and things?
I always find the rainbow is the kind of the link between darkness and light. So you usually see a rainbow when it's been dark, when there's about to be a storm or whatever. So it's obviously uh, based around the kind of the emotional side of things again. So when it's dark, when things are heavy, when things are difficult, the rainbow's kind of symbolizing you're on the way to the light again because the light always comes back after the storm. So yeah, I think that when I see a rainbow, I always think, yeah, this is just a little bit of a reminder that by using all the colours, you can get to that place of calm again after the storm.
So it just brings more questions. So I have a question, and I'm just going to ask you because I don't really know, but I really like to find out when a rainbow is projected through the skies and things. What I mean, what's the first color of a rainbow, and why does it have a particular sequence? You think?
It's the same way as the chakras are. So it's the kind of the base
I
one is the red. So you're
That's
going right up to the purple. So it's the same way. It's a kind of, again, it's this just the way that when we refract light. So all a rainbow is refracted light through raindrops. So when the light shines through the rain, it projects the rainbow into the sky, and it separates all of the colours out into the rainbow itself. And the arc is because it's coming through a single raindrop. So that's why we
and
see it.
it makes me think of the wisdom of the old, like the ancient scholars and, spiritual, wisdom of the wise ones of humanity, where, do this, how the chakras aligned with, because the occult anks them as above as below and things like,
Yeah.
how did that come into being? And I wonder if the rainbow itself has the same color scheme of the chakras that go to the human body. And I don't know that for now, but it's definitely something. It does.
Yeah, and in the right order as well, from red at the bottom to violet at the top. Yeah.
That's, I'm American, but that's dope. That's dope.
Dope. So
that's
when you see a rainbow, again, it is kind of, I would say it's Mother Nature's way of saying to you, here you go, here are all your colors again. Let's bring some color back to your life. Yeah.
So as far as like, I don't want to get, well, I do want to get occultic. So occultically speaking, what do you think as a creation story? And there's lots of creation stories depending on pantheon and, geographics and, location and also time periods.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you feel that the first color would have been in the inception of existence?
Oh, wow. It's got to be red. I mean, it really has got to be red, because red is your grounding color. It's your base. It's the point of your foundations. You cannot build. You can't go because one of the things that I do is that I teach using the colors as to create projects and things like that. And the red is the base one because it is the foundations. You cannot build a project without getting your red foundation, and then you build the next color on top and the next color on top. So like that. So you can't actually get to the point of perfection without starting at red. So yeah, if we're going to go right down that thing, I think it must have to be red, because the colors would have been built in that order.
When you talk about red, the first thing that pops into my mind is, fire. You have zodiac correspondences, Sagittarius, and Aries. You have it corresponds with iron, and different things. So there's just lots of correspondences, with colors in a kind of occultic thought. So like, it makes me. So I got to ask. Color magic seems to be something that you're very passionate about, and you wear a hat of that particular placement within the occult community. Do you feel that eventually you'll move on to a different type of study because of the correspondences that happened with the occult, I guess?
I don't think so, no, because colour's been my thing from being a child. I mean, my mum and dad were both poorly when I was younger. I'm an only child, and my thing was colouring in, drawing, painting, colouring in. So colour's been my thing all my life. I mean, how I came to be the colour witch is actually quite a funny story, because I was looking for a word or something that meant colour, energy, alchemy, because that's what I believe is what I do. I work with all the colours and I can use them to create magic. So the word that came to me was polychrometry, which means poly is multi and chrometry is colour, energy and alchemy and what have you. So I was like, colour, I'll be a polychrometrist. And it's great. It's a great word. But nobody could remember it. Nobody could say it. And my husband one day said to me, that colour witch stuff that you do, So I was like, okay, I think color witch is easier to remember than polychromatrist. Yeah.
Kind of excited about this interview. The Color Witch on Witchcraft TV on Roku television. What is your favorite color?
Well, this is it. It depends because it depends what I need at the time. I think my favoritist one is, well, favorite is not really a word, but if I have to choose one, is orange because that's the one that I come back to all the time. And orange is for action, for preparedness, for moving forward, for having courage of your convictions and believing in yourself. And that's something that I'm quite lacking at times. I have to give myself a slap on the wrists and say, come on, you do know what you're talking about, you know. So I do like orange. It gives me that bit of courage and belief in myself. But then it's like, yeah, but I need the yellow because I need the joy and I need the confidence to move forward. But oh, I love some green because I like being out in the countryside and I love being around nature. And then blues for connection. So that's about being around other people and being able to connect with them. And then indigo, like you've got mainly in your background there, that is all for insight and intuition and believing in what comes to your mind as being genuine, not something that's just plucked out of nowhere. So yeah, it's really difficult to say what is my favorite color at any one time because it depends what I need. But orange seems to be the one that comes most often.
And as far as color magic goes, what color in the spectrum, and particularly with people that practice occultism and magic, and they
Hmm.
use different correspondences for magic to go inside their subconscious and project, what color do you think is most misunderstood, or what color is not understood the most?
Yeah, I think violet, because violet is your connectedness to the universe. And I think
And
if
that's like a
you,
purple.
yes, yeah, so it is. The purple that you've got on the branding there. It's that color. So it's the sort of the one after the indigo, which is your insight and intuition. Violet is about your sort of understanding of the world and where you belong in the universe. And I think people are afraid of it. People are afraid of purple. So many people love purple, and they've got a real natural attunement with the world and with other people and with where they belong in that universe. A lot of people are quite scared of purple. It puts a lot of people off. It's like, oh, I can't do purple because I'm not there in my spirituality kind of thing. So yeah, I think that's the one that's least understood. And then in my 12-step color system, I have magenta, which is magic because magenta isn't really a color. It's the color that our brains fill in from between violet and red. So it doesn't actually exist, but yet it does, which is why I love it because it's to me it's magic. It is just all about magic and about kind of understanding where you are. Yeah.
I really like the idea of a 12 color system. If you have time and you find yourself on the New Moon Eclectics Facebook group, I'd love
Hmm.
to see a post about the 12 step of colors just to get an idea of it. I think it would be a really good preliminary lesson on color magic.
Yeah.
I don't think that color magic or the correspondences of colors is talked enough about in contemporary witchcraft. It
No.
definitely was in the 70s and 80s. And I think this particular type of craft should come back in contemporary times.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so Raychel.co.uk, and she has a literature work, a book, self-published, a very private witch that hasn't, tuned into major publications, which I think is good because I think well, sometimes it's better, because this, is not a proselytation path. This is kind of a seeker's path.
Yeah.
So I do like the fact that you're not like overly, exposed, but I am fortunate that you're on Witchcraft TV. And I do think color magic is unrepresented in the revival of what we call contemporary, well, magic, occult,
Yeah.
in witchcraft things. And I do want to thank you so much for coming on the Lone Wolf Show on Witchcraft TV on Roku television and also on our online stations at www.witchcrafttv.online. My last question for you is, what is your advice to new seekers of contemporary witchcraft, magic, the occult, or just people that are, well, open-minded? What would be your advice to them as they embark on the teachings of the magic of color?
I think the thing that I'm just generally in witchcraft and what have you, in general, and that also goes with color, is that I think that intuition is the biggest thing. I think so many people feel like they've got to follow a direct path and they've got to follow these instructions that somebody else has given them in order to make that work. Now, my way of working through the colors is the most sensible way of working through the colors because you go from the dark to the light. It's not an instruction. It's definitely through emotion. So my kind of strapline that's taken me years to come up with that is that I create magical spaces for people to explore color, explore emotions through color and creativity. So I like to encourage people to be creative with color, and then I can tell them if they're coloring a drawing, I know what they're feeling by what they've used, what colors they've used for certain bits of the picture. So,
Blessed it be. It's been a pleasure.
thank